Below the beautiful campus of Rome's Pontifical Urbanianum University, there is a treasure. Over the last 4 centuries, it has amassed a unique collection of hundreds of thousands of irreplaceable pieces. It is the historic archive of the Vatican's mission department, once called Propaganda Fide.
They are not only documents that speak of the mission, of problems or of the difficulty of carrying a mission forward, but the missionaries also wrote of how the people lived together. We have the first maps of many parts of the world, like Australia. A peculiarity of this archive is that, in addition to the history of the Church, it also speaks of the daily life of the people. Not only the important things like the appointment of a bishop, but also elements of the daily routine. So, it is an important and essential archive not only for the history of the Church in these countries, but also for the civil history. Think about Africa or Oceania, for example, which didn't have an archive culture. Conserving documents, letters from missionaries, speeches, maps, and drawings that they made is essential to recovering the civil history of these countries. You could say that not only do we have the history of the Church, but also the civil history of 2/3 of the world.
Electronically coordinated shelves like these are used to store many volumes. The great majority are available to consultation by academics, that is, all but one.
This is the first volume of Propaganda Fide from 1622. It was established on June 6th of that year. It is all handwritten by the first secretary, Monsignor Francesco Agnoli, and it is the only volume that we do not give to students for consultation.
New technology is employed by the 8-man staff of the archive, ensuring the best use of the invaluable resources.
In this laboratory, we replicate documents for internal use and for that of researchers. There is a camera mounted on this apparatus that, based on what we need, takes photos of documents from different distances. The photos pass into the computer where they can be manipulated and then stored on a server in the room next door.
Here in the lab, restorers get their hands on the most damaged books.
I dedicate my time mostly to the conservation and restoration of the volumes kept in this archive. For example, this is a book from the 1800s, so it is considered modern in that the characteristics of the paper are of the modern type. First of all, we work in conservation, which means that we are attentive to the environmental elements, and then we try to take action against damages that an inadequate environment may have caused.
The lab and the rest of the archives were the destination of a September convention for church archivists, a fine opportunity to hear the stories behind the pieces.
These silk strips contain a message that speaks of the persecution to the Pope and make an appeal for more priests. The person who carried them had hidden them in his clothing. He was caught, killed, and buried, and after 80 years a missionary went out to find his body, and he found these sewn into his trousers.
Here is the papal bull establishing the Vatican's missionary department in 1622 and the first documents founding the archives, papal seals, maps and depictions of the scenes the missionaries witnessed, like this funeral in China, shipwrecked missionaries destined for the Congo, a letter written by some of the first Chinese Catholics to the Pope on red silk, until then only used for letters to the Emperor. Many of these visitors are working in their respective dioceses in Italy and across the world to preserve their own patrimony.
An archive preserves original documents, while a bookstore houses books that can be reacquired. A document is unique, and in itself, a lost document cannot be recovered. The information contained in that document is lost definitively. It impoverishes culture, history, and mankind, present and future.
And that is a mission the director of Propaganda Fide's archives has taken to heart.
In these ancient documents is the life of our Church, our history, which is a living history, because we are what our predecessors have left us. And from them we have received what we are, from the faith to so many other things. So we can say that the archive is like a sanctuary. A document from the Pontifical Commission for Cultural Patrimony actually calls them the sacred archive of memory. That is to say, that it is a place where this memory is preserved alive, to learn that history and take us into the future.
Thank you.